Well, hello again. I had done my video already and it did not record, so I get to do it again this morning. I was doing some stenciling and I wanted to incorporate that into today's verse. And so I was thinking what verse would be appropriate. So I did some research and I came up with 1 Peter 2 verse 9, and I looked it up in a couple different versions. In the King James it reads, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." That's 1 Peter 2 verse 9, and that's from the King James. So then I just wrote that it's out on scrap pieces of paper because I had a feeling I was going to look up some words. So the word chosen, selected by God. Generation means offspring or kin. Royalty, priesthood, I guess that's pretty obvious. Holy means to be set apart. Peculiar has the idea of being purchased or acquired, preserved, belonging to or one's own property, one's possession, or obtaining, the idea of obtaining something. So acquired, that's actually the word that the Young's literal translation uses. The Young's also makes a little difference here, that the excellence you may show forth of him. So I'll explain that a little bit more later, what it means to me. But anyway, so I did that, and then I've already made 2 pages now because I did one to practice and then I did one on video. And so maybe now I'll do a 3rd one. I have this piece of coffee dyed copy paper, and interestingly enough, I added some green food coloring to my coffee mix and actually got some nice green color on here that surprised me because, like I said, I had mixed it, so somehow it ended up separating while I was working on it or letting it dry. I usually just put it in a warm oven and leave it alone so it dries. So I put some, what do you call them, reinforcements on there already, and I used the tinted ones so they wouldn't stick out too much. Also, I want to round my corners even just a little bit. So the other 2 pages that I've done, I did a little bit differently. I did each differently. So what am I going to do on this page? Maybe I'll just write out the actual verse on here. And I'll fast forward this so that you don't have to sit through me writing this out so slowly. Okay, so I wrote out the verse, and now I'm going to show you how I stenciled it. And I think along with how I stenciled it, it's important to say why I stenciled it, because this verse speaks of being unique. I think a page that is stenciled, sorry for the noise, I would have to pick the noisiest paper to do the end. That's why I recorded earlier on quieter paper, so it wouldn't make all this racket. Anyways, best laid plans. Yeah. So, yeah, so stenciling, I think, is a unique way of making a page. Especially if you use what you have and make your own stencils. Now, I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying it's a great option. I'm watering down my stamps so that they're not so dark. So what I have are some stencils that I made. I want to do the back here with this one. This one I made myself using some, I made it on parchment paper, and then I used my hot glue gun, and now all these little hot glue gun hairs are showing up because I've been using my stencil. And they will show up on the page too, I noticed. So I'll just do a little quick cleanup here. And again, he counts the hair on her head, so it's nothing he hasn't seen before. So here we go. Now you don't have to use ink if you don't want, or if you don't have. There's other ways of getting a look very similar to this. And that is, well, some of the things I thought of were watercolor, because it's transparent. Especially, you know, if you dilute it a lot. What else? You could use pencil crayons if you just color very lightly. So there, that's something on there already. I'm just going to flip it and do some more down here. Trying to be quiet because the mic picks up all the noise. Except my voice, for some reason. It doesn't really want to pick that up, but I'm working on it. Okay, so I used two different browns, and I did that on purpose. I just like how it looks with two shades. Excuse my nice inky fingers. And let's see, I think I want some more dark stuff on the sides or on the edges of the paper here. Trying to stay on the paper. The stencil, I was trying to go for a, you know, like a brick wall look. It kind of worked. So I like it. I mean, it's, like I said, it's different, it's unique, it's mine. I made it. So it's got my prints on it, if you will. Alright, so that's the back. Now for the front, I'm going to do a little more with colors. Let's see. I've got a few that I was working on. I used my Cricut to cut out some circles for labels, and what I was trying to do on the other ones I've made is just to kind of swipe it under some words. I have these a little closer together, so it's not really going to work out that I can see, but if I had spaced them a little better, there, something like that. So yeah, I was just trying to highlight some of the words, and I should have left more room. It's a marvelous light. I always like to think on that, because we'll be in it forever. Oh, and the fact that he called us, I think that's special. He called us out. And that's all the brown I think I want to do, unless I do some more. You know what, I could carry that brick theme onto the front now since I have more room here. I think I'll do that. I might just use some lighter brown. There, get the idea. And then I'm gonna switch this one out for my rosy one. This decorating with stencils and ink is definitely not for those who don't like to get their hands messy. Alright, so I have cutouts of butterflies. And two, there's lots of ways you can make your own stencils. If you have punches, I'll show you this one. I punched out a bunch of little star stickers, and so I'm going to be using that one. If you have a Cricut, you have endless possibilities. Let's see. I don't think I want the really bright one. So what I wanted to do was put a butterfly, because of the transformation. I've mentioned that before. Because when we are born again, we are made new. And two, you don't have to do it very dark. It can just be the hint of something. However you want to do it. I like to do things in threes, I guess. This one's called Tattered Rose. Mind you, I've been using the other. I'm going to do something backwards or upside down here just for difference. The Tattered Rose actually seems to, well, I've blended it now with the using the same tool. But yeah, it is lighter than the aged mahogany. And then, oops, like some green. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you about this. If you don't have enough of these things, or any of them, What you could do is take something that you apply the ink with and see if you can stuff it inside something you don't need anymore. This is the lid off a vitamin jar. It was plastic, and I very carefully cut the top off with my craft knife, and might not be the safest way to go, but just I saw somebody had used a spool, like a used spool of thread that was empty, and it was a bigger one, but I'm not sure how they got it in there, but that's what they used. So just, you know, think outside the box. Maybe you have some other lids laying around that are very small, like maybe the lid of an aspirin bottle or something like that would work. We don't use aspirin, but anyways, could be Advil, could be anything you have. So then I want to switch to the greens, and I'm going to switch up the stencil as well. I'm going to use the star one now. And too, sometimes they don't have to be like in your face obvious. But his marvelous light kind of reminds me of stars. In fact, I have a yellow and I'll have to use a new one because I don't want to mess up the yellow. Don't want to get it mixed up with other colors. I wasn't planning to use yellow. This probably is going to be too light for my liking. Hello, ouch. Anyways, there's that. Try this. Let's try a little bit to start, see how it looks. Yeah, it shows up. Actually, that's not too bright at all. It adds a nice little highlight there. I'm gonna put some water in that one too. I just got these and already they seem kind of dried out, but then I guess that's not really too unusual, is it? So I'm just gonna put some more stars, and they squeak. It's this thing on the squeaky paper, I guess. I'll show you the other ones I did in a second. I just wanted to spend a little more time with you this morning and hopefully encourage you to get in the Word, because part of well, let's see, the last video I made was last week on Thursday, and so basically all weekend I've been not fretting exactly, but keeping my spiritual ears open as to, you know, what should I do next. And really nothing was coming to mind, but then yesterday I started playing around with the stenciling idea. And that reminds me, I did make one on my Cricut, which sort of turned out, but kind of not. I'll have to find out a better way to print it out or cut it out, but I got this design online for free, and I wanted to try it to see if I could. I mean, trial and error, right? So I thought I would see how that works, and it turns out it just inspired me to probably design my own stencil I think I got this design on a site called Designbundles. And I mean, you could stencil out the whole thing. I just like to use little bits of it, and the center of it has, like, I don't know if you can see that, has like this almost like a star thing right there, and it's got some swirly teardrop shapes, and it just adds more interest to the page, which is what I'm going for. And let's see, do I want anything else on here color wise? I do like that added yellow. I thought it's because it's called Squeezed Lemonade. I thought it was going to be really bright, but it's just pretty. All right, so anything else for stencils? Did I mention the cookie cutters? I mentioned it earlier on the other non-video. What was it? Oh yeah, I'd heard of people taking cookie cutters, tracing them, and then cutting those out and using those for stencils. So there's many ways. You could even draw shapes and cut those out and use that. So there are ways to get stencils without investing heavily in them. And of course, if you make your own, they're more unique, which is what I was going for here. Peculiar, unique. All right, so basically that is how I did them. And I'll show you the examples I have. So with this one, I just basically, I didn't write out the whole verse. I summarized it. His child, his possession, chosen by him, picked out, selected by God, set apart, now royalty and priestly, purchased, redeemed, saved by his acquiring me. I praise him who called me out, brought me out of darkness into his wonderful, marvelous light. To me, that's kind of an abbreviated, highlighted version. This is, again, coffee dyed copy paper, and I did the same on the back there. You can see with that added food coloring to the coffee mixture I had, this page just got a lot more interesting. There's a little hint of green there too. But yeah, I like that. I like that, how that turned out. And then there's this one. This is kind of me rewriting the verse in my own words, like what it means to me after I looked up all the definitions. So my version of 1 Peter 2 verse 9, I am his offspring, his kin, his child, chosen, selected, picked out by God, royalty, priestly, set apart, peculiar because Jesus redeemed me, purchased me for himself with his precious perfect blood. His excellent qualities are visible in us. He called us out and rescued us out of darkness into his marvelous light. And so what I'm coming away with is that I'm thankful for the opportunity to do these videos, because really what happens is it gets me into his word more, and it gets me to think about what it actually means. So often we read the word and we don't read it with ears to hear. We just read it because we're used to reading it, and it becomes old and stale, and we wonder why. I ask him for understanding when I read, so that it means something to me personally. If you're just reading it, the Bible is not just an ordinary book. And I don't like to read it like an ordinary book. So because we were doing the stenciling, I wanted to show you what I had been up to on the weekend. This is kind of what started the idea. I had these tags laying around. Some of them were like too bright for me to consider doing anything with them. Look how bright that is. I'll probably put a different backing on it because they're also very thin. But I started playing with the stencils. And I don't have a jelly roll. This is done with acrylic ink. Since I don't have a jelly plate, is that what it's called? What I did was I just took I took a liner, you know those cereal bags? Well, I have a bunch of them hanging around waiting for me to do something with them. So what I did was I just flattened one out and I spread some acrylic paint with a old credit card and got it as thin as I could. Then I put my stencil that I had cut out. Actually, I used a paper one for these because this plastic project came later. My paper one got ruined because of what I was doing here, so that, you know, made me want to get something that would last a little longer. But so that's how I did this. I put the stencil onto the, I tried two ways. I had seen somebody else do it where they put the stencil on to get the design, and then they put their, say, tag on the painted part that was left, and it would pick up the paint that was left on the jelly plate. Well, that's how I got all these weird marks, and it's not really a defined pattern in most places. So what I ended up doing and what I thought gave me better results was, and you can see it better on the white ones. First, I did different colors. I did a light blue, I did a dark blue, and I did a purple. And so what I thought worked best for me was to lay the paint out, spread it out as thinly as possible, then put the stencil, which was made out of paper, and that probably was why this worked so well. The stencil was made out of paper, so then the stencil picked up the paint that was flat, and then I laid the stencil on top of my tags, and so that gave me the best design. And so that's probably something I should remember for next time, because if you use a plastic stencil, I don't think it would pick up the paint as nicely. But anyways, that's something I was playing with, and I like the results. I mean, this is purple with white on top. This one has a blue, light blue with white on top, and it's on craft paper. They're all too thin for my liking. I'm gonna have to put some backing on them, but anyways, I just thought I would share that with you. And the idea again is that just like stencils that are unique, we are unique in His eyes. So with that, I wish you a good day and a good week, and thanks for watching and tuning in, and if you don't mind having a like, that'd be great, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for now.